Hey, welcome back to the Oblivious Oblates, where we
Welcome
talk
back.
about faith, family, and sometimes funny stuff.
Sometimes funny stuff. I do have a funny joke. Where do bad rainbows go?
Where do bad rainbows go?
Mm-hmm. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
They go to Prism. Don't worry, it's a light sentence.
A light sense. As you can hear, my voice is gone.
Gone. Thank God for allergies, right?
Allergies and homesteading and all the fun stuff that we're doing.
All that stuff. Yep.
We didn't have a show last week because we didn't have a show last week. We just didn't
last
get
week
to
was
it.
crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. But we're back this week and wanted to talk about a couple things. At least say hi.
Yeah.
And I made an announcement this week.
He did.
So,
yesterday.
Huge announcement.
Yesterday, yep.
But before we get to that, I want to talk about the end of the world.
Well, okay.
Because it's kind of like the end of the world, right?
No, not this kind of an
Different end of the
announcement.
world. Well, I'm seeing people talk about Christianity and the end times and stuff like that. Just every time there's anything going on, natural disasters or somebody in politics you don't like, people start talking about biblical end times. And when you do that, two things happen a lot. People start to homestead because they want to be self-sufficient, and people start praying a lot. We started praying a lot because we were already homesteading, because we were just like, not about the end times thing, but just the idea of being self-sufficient.
Yeah.
It's pretty important.
Yeah.
So as we were praying last week, we talked about, or last show, we talked about the sacraments.
Yeah.
And this year we have been praying about our sacrament of marriage and how we can be stronger in our marriage and how we can learn, how we can go on retreat together. We've just been really intentional about that, and about praying for our kids.
Yes.
And whenever you pray for someone, prayer gets all over you.
Yeah.
All over you.
How goopy is she?
So we're always asking people in church to pray for vocations. And most people are like, well, that's not me, that's someone else. And they'll just grumble through the prayers. So that was me. I was grumbling through the prayers for a while. But this little lady gave me permission to do something.
Yeah.
So the first step to my big announcement is I had to ask her for permission. And so I want you to tell everybody what I asked permission for.
Okay.
So, go ahead. You get to make the announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are only one certain type of human right now that can receive all seven sacraments.
If they're lucky, yeah.
If they're lucky. So that is a person who is being ordained into the permanent diaconate who has already been married.
Yes. And that would be me. We've been married for quite a while now. So.
Yep. And I know from the very beginning, and I remember from some of our very first conversations that was a goal of yours, a dream.
Oh.
And I'm glad that we are able to step into this together now.
Yeah. So I think I remember talking to my friends in high school about wanting to be a deacon, because being a deacon just seemed easier because you could be married and all that stuff.
Easier.
Easier. And then you start hanging out with priests and you realize how much easier it is.
Anybody want to comment below, feel free.
Yeah, please do.
Easier.
But there was always that, my other friends were like, they were going to seminary, or they were like, I'm going to be a priest.
Maybe it was
I
more
didn't
like
want that
the have
commitment.
your cake and eat it too type thing.
Yeah, I just didn't want the commitment, because the real fear for me has always, and for the priesthood anyway, has always been confession.
Okay.
I get angry sometimes when people tell me stupid things, and so I pray for priests all the time, because there are people that go into that confessional and confess things that will make your stomach turn, and they have to keep that. And that is always, even before I was a Christian, that idea scared me, because the amount of sin and pain and trauma and all that stuff that gets just dumped on a priest all the time, and then they have to walk out, and then they got to smile, and they got to be
maybe do mass.
Yeah, do mass.
Remember their homily that they had to.
Whatever it is, and that's always been one of those fears. As a deacon,
can I speak to that first?
Please.
Because as you were saying that, it made me feel kind of I get a little taste of that in chaplaincy at the hospital.
Oh, for sure.
Walking into a patient's room, I absorb everything that's happening in that room, whether it's somebody having a birth, which is a joyful and joyous occasion.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a baptism on necessary means. Sometimes it's, somebody that's been going through a really difficult time in their life with, chronic pain, or COPD is a real big one, or, and sometimes I'm in the middle of somebody dying very tragically.
Yeah.
And I have to absorb that. And continue, because I am the prayer in that room, and I am facilitating the Holy Spirit in that room. Before I walk into every single room, I'm going to give you guys a little hack here.
Right.
I say one little quote, and it's Bene Sancte Spiritus. Bene Sancte Spiritus, which is Latin for come Holy Spirit, because I don't want to be present in that room.
Right. You have to kind of separate yourself a little bit to be able to do that. And that was always my thing, more so than the sex thing. Everybody always goes to the sex thing, and the truth is that only matters for like the first few weeks.
Yeah, then it's just part of being married.
Yeah,
right?
it is part of being married, or it's part of not.
Right.
There are some married couples that never have sex, and so there are even saints who went their entire lives chaste. Two very important saints that I try to model my life after, Saint Joseph and the Blessed Mother. We believe as Catholics that they never laid together as husband and wife, and that's a whole nother a show, because we can go an hour on that, and it's beautiful, the story behind those two and their journey even before Jesus showed up.
Right.
Just the little that we know about them is just, it's beautiful. And with me trying to be more of a Saint Joseph, and trying to be that person, and learning more about Saint Joseph by reading a few of the old books, and then going down this rabbit hole, that rabbit hole, and but as I was doing that, and as I'm praying for my son's vocation specifically, because I get nervous about him, he's got his special needs, and I want to make sure that he's comfortable and he can move into things. So I'm like, I want him to be happy in whatever his vocation is. So it's, Lord, pray for vocations, pray for vocations, pray for vocations.
And vocations right now, it could be altar serving, it could be lectoring, it could be sacristy, it could be singing.
Yeah,
it could be,
your
when you're looking at a fourth grader, you're not looking at, marriage and priesthood.
Right.
You're looking at how is his gift going to be best served in the church.
And so the way we've done that is over the last year specifically, is we've used the rule to try to modify our life and the way we organize our home. We're terrible at it, but we're getting better at it. It's really cool when you can say
organizing is not
organizing is fun. But
I'm very low on that.
As we get it done, things start to just feel better, and they start to feel more stable, and that's what the Benedictine rule does. So we've incorporated that into our family, but we've also incorporated mission. So we go out and we do service. We're either bottling honey for the monks, or we're doing something with the lawn, or petting the dog in the greenhouse. It could be one of those things. So we have those acts of service, and then we've added the pilgrimages and the retreats, and then, we make sure that they do religious education, and we're constantly doing things at home, and we're attending daily mass. And as we're doing all those things, that desire that I had when I was young just started to kind of reignite, because I'm showing my kids how much I love my faith. And as I'm doing that, it's like, they ask me questions like, why aren't you lecturing? Why aren't you doing this? My son's like, I want to be in altar server mode. I want to go up on the altar. And I'm like, I want to be on there too. I want to be back on the altar. And as a deacon, you're allowed to be back on the altar, and you're
called to it,
and you get to do all the fun stuff. And there's some, there's some bureaucracy that goes along with being a deacon and with a parish, and you have to do paperwork and all that, because there's the paperwork that goes along with the beauty. And what I mean specifically is, when you do a baptism, deacons do baptisms in churches, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm really looking forward to. I mean, those are the beautiful things that most people don't ever get to experience, and to be able to serve on God's altar next to a priest, and when there's not a priest there, to be able to still bring Jesus to people in a way that a normal layperson can't. You know, to be able to just say, I'm going to that jail and I'm going to go bring Jesus, and I'll be able to walk to the tabernacle and get Jesus and bring him without permission, because I'm part of it and I've got the permission. And the access to Jesus and the ability to serve and to teach makes my faith just burn so bright.
Catechism.
Go ahead.
The catechism, when it talks about baptism, calls us to our priest, prophet, and kinghood. And we are priests, all of us, baptized in the Christian faith, are priests, and we are called to bring Jesus to everyone. We have the authority, and we are called to bring him forward. And to not bring him forward is to be lukewarm in our faith. And when our faith is lukewarm, what does Jesus do to us?
He spits you out.
So, are you baptized?
I am baptized.
Are you called?
I hope so.
And this is how we are answering our call.
And here's the thing. This is a multi-year process. It can take 4 to 8 years.
At least
minimum.
3 years.
4 to 8 years minimum is what it's going to take. If I get accepted. I have not been accepted. I may not go down that entire path. I've sought out good counsel. I've gotten permission. This is the first step. So if I get accepted, we'll have shows every now and then that kind of talk about the progress. So the next phase is to have the interview with my pastor. We will fill out the application, and once I'm accepted, I'll have a year before formation starts to know that much, where it's just praying and thinking about it. So that's what I'm asking all you guys to do. Pray for me in that journey, because if God wants me there, I'm going to be there. If God doesn't want me there, your prayers will help me to understand that and have the clarity to say, this isn't right. Let me just keep being the best dad that I can be and the best husband that I can be, because that vocation's enough.
Yeah, and you're doing pretty good at it.
Oh, thank you. So that was it. I want to talk a little bit about that, just to kind of share a little bit about something cool. If you're thinking about any kind of vocation in your life, if you're thinking about any kind of vocation in your life, just do it. You know, multiple people that have already become deacons and priests have told me the same thing. Just do it. And if it's not right, it won't happen. So and that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to go do the things. And
the bit of advice that I always love to give to seminarians who are still kind of questioning on whether or not this is left or right that they go, I always tell them, go to seminary, do the education, because if you're following Jesus, it's never the wrong path.
Right, absolutely. Ordination is something that's reserved for very special people, and they will have a special place, and so will the spouses of deacons before God in the throne room. That might not be my place. There's plenty of other places there. And it might not be yours, but pray about it. Pray about it. If you want to be married, pray about it. If you want to be a priest, pray about it. If you want to be a brother, which is really cool, it's just, if, I don't know, things would change for me if things were different. I think I've always been attracted to monastic living, you know, whether it be a friary, which is the community living. I really like the Benedictines.
You need people to rein you in. You can't just be out there by yourself.
But as what we're doing at the Oblivious Oblates, and what an oblate is once we become permanent oblates, we have the option, if one of us passes away, to actually become professed oblates. And what a professed oblate is a person that stays a civilian, kind of like us, a lay person, except you were given a habit and you were allowed to live in the cloister. So that is kind of where I'm leading anyway. So as a deacon, if you were to die, I wouldn't be able to get remarried. So either path, whether I become a deacon or not, I'm going into religious life. So either Archbishop Coakley, hi,
or Abbot, hi.
Or Abbot. It's either way. I'm gonna end up just chasing towards God, because it seems like the closer and further and faster I chase towards God, the closer we get. So. Anyway, Period. So, short show, but a good one. I think an important one. Please encourage your friends that are going into religious life to pray about it. And if they go and they decide it's not for them, give them a big old hug and tell them how proud you are of them. Don't shun them when they come back to your parish, especially
Ask what
those
they
young
learn.
men. Yeah.
Ask what they learned, because they've learned a lot.
Yeah. So, and not to leave it on a negative note, but so many of our young men would go to seminary and then decide it's not it, and they'll come back and they'll end up leaving that parish or even leaving the church altogether because they had all the support going in and none coming out.
Right,
so,
yeah.
If you're in that boat, just do it and support those seminarians that say, you know what, I tried it, it wasn't right. That willingness is enough. So just like that prayer, your grace is enough, and you just say to God, your grace is enough. That willingness is enough because of God's grace. Yeah. So until next time,
work hard,
be kind,
have fun. Hey, you guys, really go check out this guy, Spoon Man, Jim Cruz. Yeah, get spooned. He's a really good artist, and he travels around the country and does some really cool shows and brings God to people too. That guy. He brings that guy to the world with spoons. Check him out.